the Fan3Cast, dishing out the hottest NASCAR news and views while celebrating the Three's historic comeback. Here are your hosts, Michael Metzger and Jason Schultz.
We've had a week off. Jason's been off in the Carolinas, running around town, going to races, going to universities, doing all sorts of fun stuff. I was stuck up here in crappy New York. Well, Jason was running around, so let's hit the ground running. The Spring Cup Series was off last week, but we will jump back a little bit to Darlington, where, Jason, you were at the track. Give us the rundown on what you saw at the track and beyond.
Darlington is a very cool speedway. It's definitely a historic one, and looking at, going to the speedway, looking on the outside, it doesn't look too historic, but once you get in and see the track and see the walls and see everything, it's really cool to see, and my experience watching the race wasn't probably the best. I probably had some of the worst seats in the house, and I definitely recommend sitting up high in the turn if you go to Darlington. Try not to sit well on the straightaways because you will get to see about nothing. But the Fan Vision I rented helped with that, and I highly recommend those. So if you haven't used one of those yet, you probably want to check it out.
Fan Vision's a great thing if you've been to a race and you haven't had the opportunity to get one. It can be a little costly depending on what you do that weekend. I rented them for the weekend at Watkins Glen, and it was perfect listening to drivers, watching the action on the track, and having a leaderboard right at your fingertips.
Yeah, it was fun for me because I had the greatest view being to see the replays and different things like that, which was really nice. And when you another thing at the track is you might have to bring your walking shoes from the main parking lot. It's a pretty decent walk down to the fan areas and then back up to the grandstands. And the grandstands are probably a good 3 flights of stairs up, so you definitely want to bring your walking shoes. It's much like Bristol, but just a little more stairs and versus walking up a mountain. And now at the track, it's always fun to be at the track and get to see people at the tweet up or see fans walking around the sprint display and stuff like that. And then when you get to the end of the race, fast forward a lot, it was Dale Jr. leading at the end, and the grandstands were prepared and ready to come down once he won the race. Everyone was up and cheering. I would look down the grandstand to see fans, hands all of me, and screaming, "Go Juniors," being shouted, and that was just a real experience to see that and how cool it was to experience that. And I was sort of pulling for Junior at the end. I wanted to see the fan reaction, but nonetheless, it was really cool to see how passionate fans were at the end of the race.
Yeah, it had to have been pandemonium for you in the stands, but in the end, as you alluded to, Dale Earnhardt Jr. came up just close. Kevin Harvick pulled off the victory. Now, will this symbolize that his team is back in form after slumping after the first race that they won at Phoenix? I don't know. I'm leaning towards they're going to be contenders week in, week out, and it's just whether or not the mechanical side of things holds up for Harvick and he doesn't have any crash or anything like that. So I don't think they'll fall back into a slump.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think he'll, now with 2 wins, he won't have too much of an issue making the chase. So it's really just do whatever on race weekend, hope you do well and try some new things. I think that'll be his team's mindset going forward until we get to Richmond in September, which is a long way from now.
Now, what a good call to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Playing a little bit strategy to get up there, contend for the win. This is certainly a rebound from the Texas incident where he was out after a couple laps. So what do you think that means for Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Is he just he's back on it, going to keep the pressure on?
I think he definitely regrouped and rebounded at Darlington. He definitely had a better performance, really back to the mindset. I think he had at the beginning of the season where he would really try to run up front, try to go after the win. And I think he just needed that little, like I said, rebound from the tough March. And now that he had the great performance 2 weeks ago, I think he'll be able to probably return to the form that we saw him in right after Daytona, where he would be always up front and competing. And I definitely just see a win coming his way in the next few months, and you never know, it could even be this weekend at Richmond.
That is very true. You can't be up front that many times without breaking through for a win. Now, we had a unique situation last weekend, or the last race, I should say, where you were at the track, so obviously you couldn't watch the TV broadcast, and I actually was not around to watch the TV broadcast. So here's the section of the program where we would normally critique Fox or ESPN or whomever has the TV broadcast that night. They get a free pass this week, so we won't touch on that. The one thing I will say is, since I wasn't around to watch the race itself, I managed all night long to be on Twitter but not see anything that was going on. I could see some tweets that alluded to things that had happened, such as Jeff Gordon led at one point, and since he was my pick, I was feeling good about that. But it was not until well after the race, I started watching it. I get a text from my dad bragging about how his driver, Kevin Harvick, pulled off the win, and I was just like, no! I spent all that time in avoidance for nothing. So that's my funny story about that.
That does not sound fun. I hate when that happens as well. And I was actually tempted to text you. I almost got a picture of Harvick's burn. I was going to send it to you, but I didn't. Well, I could have now that you already had it spoiled, but definitely not the best thing for a family trying to avoid spoilers.
I know. I should have probably warned everyone. Don't tell me anything, but I thought I had it covered. But now, Jason, you had a celebrity sighting down at Darlington, right?
Yes, from my senior grandson, Darryl Waltrip, was going to the broadcast booth from the infield studio Foxcast, and that doesn't sound too interesting, but it kind of was. His golf cart that he uses, they don't really show that much on TV or even see it on Twitter, but it's like this personalized golf cart that says DW and NASCAR box on it, and that's just a little strange to me that he has his own specialized golf cart that takes him from the TV booth, from the studio to the TV booth, and I wonder how much money Fox spent on that, because that just seems a little out there to me.
Is it at least painted like one of his old cars, like the Tide Ride or anything like that?
Not that I remember, but it may have had a little design or something on it. I wasn't too close to see it, but it was definitely interesting.
That'll definitely be something I'll look for the next time that I'm at the... Well, see, that's my problem. I never go to races that are covered by Fox, so I guess I won't look for it the next time I'm there.
This was my first Fox race since the 2009 Daytona 500, and I'll be going to the last one at Dover, so it's definitely... I never usually get to hit their races, but this year's a little different.
Very cool. Now, Jason, it's Wednesday when we're recording this. It goes up on Thursday, but we had some breaking news today over the future of Swan Racing. Maybe you can get listeners up to speed on what exactly transpired, because my head's still spinning, and I've had to reread the press release a couple times to figure out who's going where and what's happening to whom.
A lot has definitely happened, and I haven't even fully read about it. I'm off what I believe I know about it. The Swan Racing team basically disassembled. They more than likely had some financial issues, and that doesn't come as a surprise to me considering how they started the season. They went really from a small team to two teams without even one full-time sponsor for a car. So I think they were destined to hit these issues, and without that great of a performance out of the drivers so far this season, it's been probably difficult to get that sponsorship or money that they need, and that has led to Cole Witt and his number 26 team heading to BK Racing, and that Witt will be a part of that team now with his same car and probably the same personnel. And the 30 car was sold to Extreme Motorsports, which Yaley will be more than likely in the number 30 car, which they bought from Swan Racing, and that leaves Parker Kligerman without a ride right now, and Swan Racing kept him as their driver, but until they really solve their economic issues or really find him another ride, or if Kligerman finds himself another ride, he's probably the one who lost out most on this rapid change that the team has really seen.
So, Jason, I got so many thoughts about this, and feel free to jump in while I get on my soapbox and start talking about this. First thing I wanted to touch on was just the idea of Swan Racing was a great one. Brandon Davis, the owner, came in, bought Inception Motorsports, and really had an idea of having young drivers, make it marketable, and just assume that everything would come in. And here's kind of my gripe with owners like this. They always have these great ideas, great dreams. You come in, you throw a lot of money around, and you're going to have instant success. And it's almost like they've never watched NASCAR before and seen everyone else come in, throw money at it, and then disappear within a few years. Unfortunately, Davis is a product of what he was trying to do. He went from one team that could barely run to trying to field two teams, and it was just too much too fast.
Yeah, that was definitely the case, and it's really surprised me that no one really caught this at the beginning of the season, that they had two teams without one full-time sponsor, and they were really running off of money that we didn't really know about, so I'm not sure how everyone really missed that. This could be a factor for them later in the season, but now they finally hit it, and I don't see this team really getting back to how it was just a few weeks ago at Darlington. And Parker Brigham actually had a decent run at Darlington. He has probably, I think, a second best finish of the season, and Cole Witt hit the wall. I do remember seeing his car drive by with a giant Darlington stripe on it. So it was really just fascinating how quickly this team went from really being the team at the beginning of the season that everyone was like, oh, that's a cool idea, and to now the team that no longer exists and likely won't be racing for probably a few weeks, or even maybe not even racing on the track again unless they can find the money and sponsorship that they desperately really need.
Yeah, so many mixed signals coming out of there, such as they're holding on to some employees to, quote, close up shop, but at the same time, I know the owner was talking about running races maybe later on in the year, which I doubt it. I highly doubt it. A big thing to remember about this team is you could say, hey, they had sponsorship from 50 Cent, the SMS audio. It turns out that actually wasn't a traditional sponsorship deal. It was a partnership between the two to kind of 50 would use NASCAR to raise exposure and awareness to his brand, and at the same time Swan Racing would use his celebrity status to try to attract more sponsors, which it didn't work out too well. And that kind of leads me into BK Racing, where Cole Witt is going. Good luck, Cole Witt, because if you look at the history of BK Racing, not only do they have a history of not paying drivers, just ask David Rudiman and Landon Castle about that thing, but they're in the same boat as Swan Racing. They have Burger King all over their vehicles, but Burger King isn't paying them. The owners own a bunch of Burger King franchises, and Bob Pockras of the Sporting News pointed out today on Twitter that they put Burger King sponsorship all over their cars to show potential sponsors what they can do for them. Which makes me think, isn't that mixed signals? Because they're going to look and say, hey, they're fully funded by Burger King. We're going to look elsewhere to put our logo on a car. So I don't know how well of a situation it is for Cole Witt, especially being teamed up with two more rookies and having the growing pains of just trying to learn the Sprint Cup Series. I don't know. Red flags all around for me, at least.
And you've seen that BK Racing hasn't had as much success as in Swan Racing. I think BK Racing struggled a little more, so Cole Witt definitely has his hands full on the team, and it's probably better than not racing at all, but I think Cole Witt's really going to, just face some issues, and he's going to be really disappointed with the level of performance he's going to have over the next 2 weeks when he's really used to having a little better of a car. And I think BK Racing is probably another team that's destined to fail, and it's just crazy to see how these teams could really come in with these great ideas that they're going to be successful and everything like that, and then just not hit it at all, and they're just desperately looking for money right now, and that's probably not the best way to become a team in NASCAR that's successful.
So this leads to kind of an article I've been working on. I just haven't been able to finalize it yet. I take a look at teams from 1990 until now to kind of see every 5 years who's there, who's not there. And it's just amazing the amount of turnover for teams or mergers, acquisitions, or just teams that show up and then just disappear without a trace. And I gotta say, the biggest loser in this whole thing is definitely Parker Kligerman, who's out of ride. He's still under contract with Swan Racing for if they, probably never, get back on track. But I don't know where he ends up right now. It seems like, unfortunately, wherever this kid goes, he runs out of sponsorship. Happened in the Truck Series. It happened in the Nationwide Series. Now it's happening in the Cup Series. So someone's got to sponsor this kid because he's only 23 and he's got a bright future ahead of him.
He definitely does, and he's going to be one, once he gets a secure ride and sponsorship, he's going to be probably one of the most interesting rookies to watch, because I definitely think he has a bunch of talent, like you said, and I still believe he'll be one of the superstars in NASCAR one day, but just has to work out these little sponsorship issues and ride issues he's having at the moment.
So Jason, on that note, talking superstars, I got 3 superstars. 2 of them match up to your 3 superstars. We're talking about the power rankings for this week. I got Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Brad Keselowski. I think Johnson and Gordon leading the points, can't argue that too much, but I think both Hendrick Motorsports drivers have a lot still in the tank, and they've had a good showing on track. And for me at least, Keselowski's holding on just because the stats are pointed in his favor. After a last couple of weeks, he's had strong performances.
I completely agree with your Hendrick Motorsports guys got on there because they're doing really well right now, except for this point. But I lead off my power rankings with Dale Earnhardt Jr. first, Jim Jackson second, and Jeff Gordon third. All 3 have been superb over the last few weeks. Earnhardt Jr. maybe not in Texas, but he's been strong, and I think Darlington's a really big sign of success to come for him, and I really see him, like I said earlier, to jump back into the swing he was on to start the season off, but he's going to run really well. And Jimmy Johnson, he's just been consistent, and even more consistent. So I think you can't really count him out right now, because I think he's right on the verge of winning, and Richmond may be his race. And Jeff Gordon, he's been the same thing as John, consistent and right on the verge of winning. So those 3 are running extremely strong right now, and it's definitely sending a large statement.
Now, Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot here with something that we didn't discuss ahead of time for the Fan3Cast. Now, we're just talking about Hendrick Motorsports and how strong they've been. Their developmental driver, Chase Elliott, has rattled off 2 wins in a row in the Nationwide Series. I put my opinion out there on StartandParkBlog.com about what Rick Hendrick should do, or the dilemma that he is in. How long do you think they should wait on Chase, and will he really kind of push their hand if he gets another couple of wins?
I think they should wait on Chase another year and maybe put him in the Cup car in 2016, but that's not going to happen. As you saw with Kyle Larson, some people thought he'll maybe put him in the Nationwide Cup for 2 years and move on to the Cup. There's probably no doubt Chase Elliott's going to be in the Cup Series next year. I don't think Rick Hendrick's going to wait, and it's going to be the same deal with Larson, really moving the driver up a little too fast. And I think Gordon's going to be really screwed at the end of the season, because he's going to be left out without a ride, even if he's performing well, because Chase Elliott, this new talent that everyone wants to see in the Cup Series. And you hate to see that for Jeff Gordon, but I think everyone's just going to be awed by Chase Elliott over the rest of the season, and they just have to move him up to Cup when he probably isn't ready yet. He's going to be probably 19 if he's in the Cup Series next year, which I just think is way too young, and probably he doesn't have the on-track experience he really needs to succeed in long-term in the Cup Series.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough decision, and I'm kind of with you. I can't imagine that Rick Hendrick would put either Elliott with a different team, or I can't imagine Jeff Gordon driving for another team. So it'll be interesting to see how this all goes down at the end of the year, because Dale Earnhardt Jr., you can't get rid of him. He's still definitely got a bunch of years ahead of him. Jimmy Johnson's untouchable, and a lot of people have called for Casey Kane's head in the 5 car. But think of it this way. I read a report where they pointed out Rick Hendrick signed him a year before he could even have him. So that means Rick Hendrick's got a lot of faith in Casey Kane.
And we know the Hendrick drivers and Chase Elliott will be very strong this weekend in Richmond when NASCAR returns to short track racing, which we've been 3 weeks, 4 weeks without it. So everyone's excited to get back to the short track racing where it should be exciting under the lights at Richmond. These races always produce some drama. If you don't remember what happened last time at Richmond, I'm really curious why you don't remember it. It was probably the biggest scandal in NASCAR history. And it's definitely something to watch out for if even more drama is going to unfold this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be our last taste of short track racing until August, so soak it in while you can. I love racing under the lights. I love the short track feel. It's going to be a lot of close competition, and my fun fact for this race is the fact that Jimmy Johnson has a 17.292 average finish at this track, but has managed 3 wins, so I wouldn't count him completely out. Jason, is this a track where someone like Casey Kane, who has a pitiful 17.95 average finish, or even Martin Truex Jr., someone who's underperformed all year long, could kind of rebound after, having an off week to kind of regroup and see where they're at?
I think they will both be stronger at Richmond than they have been in the first 7 or 8 races, I think, because they've really had that week to regroup and really reassess what they've done so far this season and what they brought to the season that really didn't work. So I just see them performing well at Richmond, not really doing probably not top 5, but they're just going to build some momentum because over the next 2 weeks and month or so, I think they'll hit their stride and they'll probably bounce back to the way that many expected to see where many people expected to see them both this season.
So Kevin Harvick at Darlington broke our streak of new winners. Do you think we'll have a new winner this weekend? Because I don't. I think we'll repeat winners.
Yeah, I think that's what we're really in for. And my pick for this weekend, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch.
You're kidding me, Kyle Busch? Really?
If you don't remember how dominant he's been at Richmond in the past, I think it was 3 straight spring races he won. So I think he's just the obvious pick, and he's more than likely going to get it done this weekend.
Oh, I'm well aware of Kyle Busch's record at Richmond. Do not worry, Kyle Busch fan. I know it so well because I picked him as well to win this weekend. I could rattle off the stats, but I guess you already know all that, Mr. Know-It-All.
And actually, I just came up with Kyle Busch right on the spot, we didn't know each other's picks, so it was just kind of random that it happened once again. We took the driver.
Yeah, we don't talk about it ahead of time, and actually I will pull out the stats because I see that we got a couple minutes. So, Kyle Busch, 18 starts. He's got 4 career wins, 12 top 5s, 13 top 10s, so if he's running at the finish, it's probably going to be up by the front. Average finish is 7.222, which is by far the best among active drivers, and he's got the second best rating at the track, so I say it's a slam dunk for Kyle Busch, plus he's got the tune-up in the Nationwide Series to get him back on track.
And before we leave, I forgot to mention this, I went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame as well when I was in the week in the Carolinas, and it's definitely worth a visit, but I would like to suggest to them to update their exhibits. There were some really old exhibits with the inspection process, laser inspections that's not there, and the point system. They've got a wall of stats that no longer comes into play regarding the chase. So it's my little into the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
How is it seeing all the different cars and all that? Definitely worth the money?
The new cars are definitely worth it, and it was really cool to see that kind of Gen 6 stuff there, because that car just looks really nice, and it's just, I think, it's cool with all the success he had last season that he got his place on Glory Road.
Quick question, what display do they got going on right now? Is it still the Women in Racing display?
Yeah, it is, and of course took a few pictures of Danica Patrick's car. I have to go through my pictures, but be sure to look for that because I will tweet it out sometimes.
Definitely we'll follow you on Instagram to see all the cool pics from your trip. So, Jason, glad you're back safe and sound. I'm glad we're back in the rhythm of doing the Fan3Cast, and I'm glad that there's racing happening again this weekend.
It should be a very fun race again on Friday night and Saturday night.
All right, until next time, fans.
Thanks for listening to the Fan3Cast. For more NASCAR coverage, check out StartingParkBlog.com and Turn4RacingNews.com. Follow along on Twitter at Fan3Cast, at StartingParkBlog, and at NASCARJason.